Muhami Matters with Chris Adams, powered by CJA Consulting.
They found their SEO rankings go from being number one on Google, getting thousands of visitors every day through all of their content marketing, to literally zero within a number of weeks. If you are a small firm and you need to get your first website up and running, a headless approach doesn't really make sense. If when you go onto Google, you type in your company name and you think it takes more than 3 seconds to load, then you'll lose about 60% of your traffic before your website even loads.
Welcome to Muhami Matters, the place where credibility meets clarity in legal and professional services. I'm your host, Chris Adams, founder of Muhami and CJA Consulting. Today, we're exploring how your firm's website can become more than just an online brochure, but an actual lead-generating machine. Joining me is Robbie Mould, founder and managing director of Headless, a digital agency specializing in headless websites for regulated industries. Robbie's helped countless firms enhance their web presence through smarter tech, sharper strategy, and secure, scalable platforms. Robbie, welcome to Muhami Matters.
Thank you for having me on the pod.
Thanks for joining us. Okay, let's get started. Tell us a bit more about Headless and the recent journey from RJM Digital.
Yep, so Headless is a specialist website agency. So we build our websites in a particular manner to make them very fast, secure, but ultimately built to generate leads and to scale as our customers' businesses scale and grow as well. And we've recently rebranded from RJN Digital to Headless. And the reason being is that I've been running this agency for about 7 years now. I started off freelancing and didn't really think about too much about the brand. So I thought, right, I'd be original and use my initials, and digital is what we do, so we'll put that on the end. But as we've grown and scaled, and I brought on a team to help deliver what we do to our customers, it didn't feel appropriate that it was all about me. So we looked at various things of how we help our customers, and transformative is one of the things that we do. We transform a brochure website, as you mentioned before, to a lead generating machine, and the Latin for transformative is transformativus. So we took the end of that, and then we found the .com, and we've branded that accordingly.
Fantastic. That's amazing. And yeah, never use your initials. CJA Consulting. I've been told countless times afterwards, don't do that. But what can you do? What can you? You live and you learn, right?
It's a great place to start off.
Exactly. So let's talk about AI and the future of web development a little bit, because I know that's where you're focusing a lot.
Yeah.
Can you take us back to your first experience using AI in web development? What did that look like?
Yeah, so AI has completely disrupted the web development, marketing, everything, even the agency model itself. And so we've been testing and playing around with AI for the last couple of years since it's come out. So where we've deployed it within our agency is really to speed up the process and how we deliver projects. So before, for example, it would generally take about 12 to 16 weeks to take a project from complete scratch to development, tested and launch. Now, with the use of AI within our agency, we can halve that, if not build our sites within a third of the time.
Wow.
And the reason being is that we have multiple people that are specialists in what they do. So we have someone that does the design, we've got someone that does the copywriting, the messaging, and then we've got our developers. Now what we're able to do is still use those specialists accordingly, but where there's repetitive tasks, for example, building out the structure of a website, normally we would do that by hand on computer programs and build out 30 pages or whatever it may be. But now there are so many AI tools where we've customized it. So right, build me an accountant's website or a lawyer's website, build the structure of that, and that can take place in minutes rather than days or even weeks at sometimes.
So speed, the main way you're seeing the change in the client workflows with AI?
Yeah, speed and also consistency as well. So that's one of the challenges with running an agency is, yes, it's great, you get fantastic, talented people in it, but we're all humans, and the biggest flaw that we have as humans is inconsistency.
Right.
And so that's where what we can do is that we can take a project that we've done previously, or knowledge that we've taken for all the years. So say to the AI, right, this is what creates a revenue generating or lead generating website. Now take all of that knowledge, deploy it for this specific customer, and then you'll get consistent results.
You mentioned to me before this an improvement in user experience. But is that purely from the UX side, or are you finding your clients are having a better experience as well?
So AI hasn't truly got there yet when in terms of user experience, because you still need to be a human or a user actually using it. So that's the bit that we spend the most time on now, or AI has given us more time to make sure that we get the UX on all of our websites absolutely spot on, because ultimately if it's a poor experience for the user, whether it be on mobile, desktop or tablet, then people are just not going to stay there and they're not going to engage with it, so they move on. So where AI has helped from our customers' perspective is often it's the time. Everyone knows how long it takes to build a website if you've done that before, to do it well. And the fact that we can now halve that or make it to a third of the time, that's where our customers are noticing the real benefits.
So what should professional services firms realistically expect from the advancements in AI now?
Well, I think disruption is the buzzword at the moment. If it's disrupted web development agencies, it's disrupted marketing agencies, but certainly from professional services firms, I think if you are delivering repeatable knowledge or information that is readily available online, then I think that's going to disrupt it, because we're finding that people are doing a lot more research about a particular topic. Before it was on Google and they would go to our websites beforehand, and obviously Google would scrape that information. Now they're going to ChatGPT.
Yes.
And similar to a purchasing decision where we believe 75 to 80% of that is done before they speak to you, information that they want to get from you is now almost at the 75-80%, where they will do their research on ChatGPT first, or they will use AI in some capacity before they speak to you and before they get that knowledge from you. So where I think professional services firms are going to capitalize on AI, if they become specialists of what they do, where AI cannot give them the right information or the right service that people need, and they combine that and they use the AI to help speed up the delivery of the process, or ideally make it more cost effective for customers as well. So that's where we believe that the disruption is going to cause, but where the opportunities are for companies that really, really embrace this. And that's why we're speaking to regulated industries, because generally they're quite conservative when it comes to change or embracing new technology. But those ones that do, they're the ones that's going to really profit from it.
Interesting. And should then professional services firms be building AI into their website offerings as well?
Building it absolutely within their website offerings as well. So the first thing that companies could pull on is, or could integrate into the website, is some form of chatbot, where if there are frequently asked questions or common questions that prospect will ask you before they engage with the sale, then you can easily train a chatbot to answer those questions. Because again, similar to what we did with digital marketing or content marketing, where we would give a lot of information, similar to what I'm doing on this podcast now, is giving away the secrets, but then selling the implementation. So that's where a chatbot can be really powerful, is to say, right, rather than going through a stream of FAQs or a knowledge base on your website, is people can just ask direct questions about your firm, about your knowledge specifically, and then the chatbot and AI can answer that directly and personalize it depending on what the questions asked from that user. And if you can enhance that experience on a really good website as a really good chatbot, then you're going to be in a very strong position.
It's really interesting you say that, because that is exactly what I want to do with Muhami. So Muhami at the moment is a little bit manual.
Okay.
All the information is there.
Yeah.
So I want to help people to be able to find it much more easily. So
absolutely,
I think this is something where we could work together and understand how AI can help.
And that's ultimately what professional services companies are all about. It's providing really valuable information. So if you can personalize that to the customer or deliver that much quicker, whether that's pre-sale or post-sale, that's only going to give a much better customer experience. And therefore, we all know the benefits of delivering a really good, valuable customer experience. You get referrals, you get repeat business from there. So that's why it's a real opportunity for those that embrace it first.
So Robbie, in simple terms, what is a headless website? What's this all about?
Okay, so there are two parts to a website. You've got the front end, which is where what we see in the browser. So you can load up Safari, and that's what we see as the website. Then you've got the second part, which is what we call the back end, or content management system, or CMS. And that's where you upload all of your images, your videos, your page content.
Right.
And typically a website, they are tightly coupled together. So the front end and the back end sit on one server located in a server rack somewhere in the UK or the UAE or what have you. And the challenges with that is that if you want your website to load a lot quicker, you give a lot better user experience, often you have to pay quite a significant amount of money to pay for more infrastructural, faster, bigger servers.
Right.
Also, the challenges come with security as well. So again, this is why we target regulated industries, because a cyber attack or security is generally at the top of their list. If it's all tightly coupled together and you get a cyber attack from the front end through the browser, then it can drastically impact your back end, your CMS, and then all of your data can sometimes even disrupt your backup and your recovery system as well. So what we do is that we separate the two. So the headless runs on one set of infrastructure, the backend runs on another one, and that's what we call is headless.
Right.
And we have a connector in between the two. So if there's any data changes that you make, a new page or a new image, that sends a signal for here to grab that data securely, and then it publishes it across multiple thousands of servers across the globe, called a CDM. So what that means is that if I'm accessing your website from the UAE or from New Zealand or the UK, I'm accessing a server as close to that user as possible, so that if anything happens to that front end, you can just fail over to the next location. So that makes it infinitely scalable, so that if you do operate across multiple countries, you're not send all of your users to one particular server. It makes it incredibly fast, which again delivers a great user experience, but it's also really good for SEO because Google loves websites that load under a second, and it makes it absolutely bulletproof in security as well. So you're not having these one single point of vulnerability. You can mitigate and spread your risk across hundreds, if not thousands of servers.
And is this why you started focusing more on the regulated industries, professional services firms, I guess, in other words, due to this security their number one priority?
Well, generally regulated industries, they will have data protection officers, they will have chief information security officers. So generally when the marketing officer goes to the board and they say, right, we're going to build a brand new website. Okay, go through the details of it. WordPress is a very commonly used content management system. Marketers love it because it's very adaptable, very flexible. But the challenge with WordPress is that it's built using a coding language called PHP, which is quite old. And also there's loads and loads of plugins that you can put on the website. The challenge with that is that those plugins, if they're not updated regularly or it's quite old or what have you, that's where you get the hacks. So you have this conflict between the chief information security officer who goes, we want something really resilient and secure. And then you've got the marketing officer saying, no, we want this because we know it, we love it, we know what it can do. And so there's often that conflict of security versus lead generation. So the headless completely resolves any fears that you have. The marketer still gets WordPress, but the security officers or the chief technology officer, they get a very secure, resilient website.
So it's really interesting. Do you have like a real world or a client story that illustrates the advantages you've seen as you've started focusing more on the headless website style or approach?
Yeah, absolutely. So from a security perspective, we work with a very high-end luxury home refurbishment company who are based in the UK, but also they're scaling as well. Now, they had a WordPress website and they found their SEO rankings go from being number one on Google, getting thousands of visitors every day through all of their content marketing, to literally zero within a number of weeks.
Oh, wow.
And the reason being is that they had a plugin on there which wasn't updated, it wasn't particularly secure, and someone had managed to hack through that plugin, and then they managed to create hundreds, if not thousands, of very spammy links. So they were trying to put Nike Air Jordans for sale, or they were trying to sell cars, cryptocurrency, all the usual sort of stuff on there. And of course, it got indexed by Google. So Google found it and realized it was spam. realized it was almost like a phishing attempt really from a website perspective, and it completely de-indexed their whole website. When they hadn't realized this. They were thinking maybe it's our SEO that's gone wrong, or maybe we're not putting the right content on there. But when you actually delve into it, you could see all of these spammy links being formed. And of course, what we did, and they still loved their WordPress, they still loved their website. So we came in, identified that problem really quickly, rebuilt it all in that headless approach, and we can still see by the analytics that the old hackers are still trying to target that particular plugin, but because we've got in the headless approach, it completely nullifies it, and now all of their rankings have come back, and now their business is flourishing as a result.
So I guess the best thing to do in that situation would be, do you pretty much have to change your whole approach to your website? Do you have to get the headless model in? What do you do?
From an architecture perspective. Yeah. So if we didn't need to change how they use their content management system to create pages or create the content that they want for their website, and the look and feel was exactly the same. It was just simply making sure that it's not tightly coupled together and separated the two, and then that was it.
It sounds like a no-brainer.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. So yeah, if any one of your listeners is noticing that we're not getting the traffic that we're getting through from Google or SEO or whatever, then that could be one of the reasons. And with AI now, and again, linking back to that, people think that it's someone sitting in a co-working space or an office going, right, I'm going to target Chris Adams and I'm going to hack his website. That's not the case at all. It's all automated. It's all done through AI, and they will just scan your website for vulnerabilities that they know, that the hackers know, and they will just target you automatically. They don't care who you are or what you do. Obviously, the more prestigious you are, the higher, more credibility you have, then that's an easier target for them, because they're more likely to potentially get results. But yeah, don't think of cyber attacks as this someone attacking you personally. It's completely automated, and if you have those vulnerabilities, you could just be vulnerable for a couple of days, and their tools will find you.
It's funny you say that, because I've always thought of it just as, a bunch of people sitting in a room just tapping away at their keyboards.
Exactly. You are, exactly. And go, I don't like the look of you, Chris. Exactly. I'm gonna make your life misery. It's definitely not that. It's all automated bots.
So how would you pick these things up? Like, obviously the company you mentioned didn't pick it up quickly enough. If you didn't have, obviously the most sensible thing is to move to the headless design, and then you don't have that difficulty or a challenge or the opportunity. But how would you detect it?
So first of all, it's knowing if you're getting on unusual activity. So generally, you would hope that most professional services firms or regulated firms will have some kind of malware scanner, not on their desktops, on their actual website themselves. So hopefully you can start picking these bits up. But there are lots of scanners available, so you can literally just put your URL in there and it will scan your website for you. But if you just go into the CMS, and if you notice that you have plugins which are out of date, they haven't been updated for a couple of days or even weeks, that's when you can start suspecting there to be issues. And there's lots of reports out there about the vulnerabilities and the challenges with WordPress and how many attacks there are happening per day. So if you put your plugin list into one of those scanners, then you can find out if your website is potentially vulnerable.
So you do need to be quite diligent and proactive. It's not, nothing's going to pop up like a virus scanner or something like that. You actually need to be on the lookout.
Absolutely, yeah. There are obviously many tools out there that will do that for you, but not everyone does it, because not everyone thinks about the website or cares about it that too much, unfortunately, unless you get a chief information security officer or CTO that knows this stuff and warn the war wound. So for relatively small to medium size professional services firms, they generally don't. It's the last thing they think about until it's too late.
I guess that will be kind of a mistake that you might see from professional services firms. What other mistakes do you see from commonly when professional services firms build and maintain their websites?
So I think the first thing that people get wrong is that they forget their own decision making when making a purchase outside of their own firm. So generally, 80% of the decision making process is done before your customers or your users speak to you. So people love to do their research, and there's a variety of ways of being able to do their research. So one, on social media. So look at your social profiles, whether it be LinkedIn, looking at your own personal brand, or looking at your company's posting and messaging, what they're putting on there. But also the website as well. And obviously that's where we come in. And we believe the website is your main hub of knowledge, of truth, but also your real opportunity to pitch to your customer quite intimately. And so what most services firms get wrong is that they end up talking about them. They say, we are a multinational law firm that operates in X number of languages. We have served 20,000 customers and what have you. And they don't actually talk about the problems or the challenges that their customers are particularly facing. So if you look at the Matavis website, we talk about the vulnerabilities of your website. The fact that most customers aren't getting the leads that they're wanting through their website. They're not converting enough traffic into leads or opportunities. So that's the first thing that people get wrong. And the reason being is that they talk about themselves. It's all about them. It's not talking about the customer. But they also withhold some really key information that really tips customers over the edge to want to speak to you. So one of the main things is pricing. So most professional services firms are absolutely terrified of putting their pricing on the website. And I can totally understand why. But because most of their competition don't do it, they're fearful of that. And also they're often fearful of, well, they might think we're too expensive or too cheap, or, we always say it depends. But the best way to qualify a lead is to put your pricing on the website. It doesn't have to be exact. It can be ranges. It can be ballpark figures. But the worst case scenario for me when I speak to potential prospects is I spend money on my marketing. I get them to convert on the website. I have a fantastic discovery call, and then I present them the proposal or the presentation, and then it comes up with pricing, and they say, I can't afford it, or can you do it cheaper? Can you do that? And that is just the worst feeling for any professional services firm. If you're able to put just some rough figures, or ideally, 3 packages or whatever you've got on there, that will help qualify out the people that can't afford you, but also the people that you can't serve. We love to think that we could help the biggest and greatest company, but if you're not set up to do that, they'll move on. So that just means that when you do get a lead, they can afford you, they can afford your services, and that's the best thing. But also people want to help make the right decision in terms of the purchase. So if you're able to provide comparisons, so for us, for example, on our website, we talk about when to use Headless, but also when not to use Headless as well. Because if you are a small firm and you need to get your first website up and running, a Headless approach doesn't really make sense, because often they don't have 12 weeks or 16 weeks. They often don't know what they're truly selling. They don't know who their ideal customer profile is. So actually, they just need to get a website up and running in a matter of days, do some testing, and then they'll go off and do their networking and what have you. So that's where we are really honest with our customers and say, right, if you care about security, if you're spending a load of money on leads, on marketing, but you're not getting the leads, if you want to scale to X, Y, and Z over the next couple of years, this is when Headless works really well for you. But if not, and you're a startup, you're this, that, the other, then go down the traditional route. And we actually recommend competitors on our website that they can go to. And again, that just builds up so much trust and credibility with your prospects that they'll probably find a way of wanting to work with you anyway, even if they don't have the budget, absolutely, whatever it may be. So it's just helping people make that purchasing decision, and look at how other industries do it, whether it's B2C or restaurants or whatever it may be. They try to give as much information as possible and get people armed. And when you do that, when that lead comes in or that inquiry comes in, you'll have such a much better conversation with your prospects. And if they can build trust with you from the off, then you're going to have a much better closure rate.
From what I'm hearing from you is content is key. Content is king. And that's the number one thing. Because my next question was going to be, why, in your view, what does a modern, credible professional services website need? Is it content or is it something else?
Is everything.
Yeah.
Is everything above, okay? So it's the right messaging. So talking about your customers' pains, okay? Because the people that you want to generally target are people that are aware of a problem, not aware of a solution. Yes. So, for example, my ideal customers are people that know they're not getting enough leads coming through to their business, or they know that they're spending all this money on Google Ads or marketing, but they're not actually seeing the leads come through track to the website. They're our ideal customers or ideal people that we want to speak to. We don't want to speak to people that know what the solution is. So they know that they want to buy a Webflow website, for example, or they want to buy a traditional WordPress website, because us trying to convince someone that the headless route is the right way to go, even though they know the solution, is 10 times harder.
Yes.
And it's a waste of their time, and it's a waste of my time. So if you can talk about the problems that your customers have and then talk about your solution within that, then you'll have a much, much better engagement rate. And within that, we can all probably think of 100, 200 problems that our solution solves for our customers. Or if we really brainstorm all the problems that we solve for our customers, we can come up with many pieces of content that talks about that in a lot of detail, gives some valuable advice on how your customers went through that problem, how they solved it. And then obviously, ideally, if you can solve that problem in a quicker way or better way, then again, you're just going to build more trust with your prospects.
It's interesting to hear all this from you as well, because ideal client profile is something that I talk about with my clients consistently and over again. Know your ideal client, because without that, you could spend tens of thousands of dollars on websites, on marketing campaigns, on Google Ads, whatever it may be. If you don't know who you're targeting, you don't know who your audience is or who they're not, then it's really difficult, and you're just going to waste time and money.
There's a really good book called They Ask, You Answer. And they've got this triangle of how most companies approach their marketing. And at the top, in terms of the order of how they prioritize what to do or what not to do. And there's a triangle up there. And they say, right, first of all, people look at their competitors and they go, right, competitor A, they're doing this, so we're also going to do it. Or competitor A is not doing this, so we better not do it. Then they go down there and they say, right, we better not put a pricing on the website because people might think we're too expensive or blah, blah, blah. And so we're not going to put this on there because those people that can't afford us, they may get scared away. And actually, the last thing that everyone generally thinks about is, who are our ideal customers?
Yes.
Who are the customers that are going to love what we do? We know we deliver solutions or help solve their problems time and time again. We know that they can afford what we do. But that's always the last bit that we think about, or customers often think about, is how they're going to create their marketing message. And they're missing so many opportunities there.
Yeah, it has to be much higher up the agenda, much higher up the agenda. So how often should firms be thinking about rebuilding their websites? How often they need to be not just updated with content, but updated the design, updated infrastructure and architecture and all that?
So we generally refresh our websites every 5 years. Okay, it doesn't have to be a set term. If you have specialized into a particular niche, but your website is still very generalist, then generally it makes sense to revamp it. We never set a time on it, but if you really understand your target customer that's going to pay you all your fees, that you know you can deliver a really good service, you know that they're going to refer you time again, that's when to revamp it. Because the whole architecture of a professional services website is going to change. And I'm generalizing to assume that it hasn't been done correctly from the off.
Right.
But the moment that happens, the whole thing is going to completely turn on its head. And most people, marketing managers or business owners of these firms, once they buy into this methodology of what we promote, again, they think about their website, they think about their content in a completely different light. And so therefore it needs a complete overhaul.
What should I see as a red flag that my website is out of date, it needs a major update or a minor one at least?
Yeah. Well, first of all, if it says we are a multinational, we do this, we do that, we, then it is an overhaul. Assuming that you're not getting lots of leads or inquiries as a result of that, then it needs a major overhaul. It needs to be talking about the problems of your customers, which is what I said first of all. That's the key thing. There's a couple of technical things. So if your website is loading quite slowly, if when you go onto Google, you type in your company name, Muhami, CJA Consulting or whatever, and you think and you think it takes more than 3 seconds to load, then you'll lose about 60% of your traffic before your website even loads. And the reason being is that we all expect things to be instantaneous now, whether it's food shopping, whether it's social media, whether it's your phone, and in particular website. 3 seconds doesn't sound a long time, but if you really time it, or if you actually click on Google and noticing how long it takes, then that's a big red flag, because you could be spending money on Google, for example, pay-per-click, and especially in law and accountancy, that cost per click is really high. Someone will click on that. If it's taking forever to load, Google will still charge you for that click.
Yeah.
They don't care. Yes. They've given you that click, and that's it. And now it's up to you to convert it into a lead. So if it can load within under a second, then you've got them on there. If you've got the messaging right, then you know you're going to convert more. But if it's anything longer than 3 seconds, you're going to be wasting a lot of money, because we can always guarantee that 60% of people will just go, press that back button, and I'll go to your competitor. And then
That's quite interesting. I'm just thinking about my own use as you're saying that, and I often have it set so it'll open a new tab, basically. If I search on Google and I want to see the result, I'll click it, it'll open a new tab. If that tab doesn't load really quickly, I'll have already gone back to Google and scrolled to the next result, clicked on that tab, and looked at your competitor's website, or looked at an alternative, or moved to do some online shopping or something, but you've lost my attention.
100%, yeah. And Google tracks this stuff. So Google will know that a user has clicked on your website and they've come back to Google instantaneously, or within a number of seconds. And so Google's reputation is about providing relevant websites for the search term of a user. So if someone's clicked on your ad and they've come back and they've clicked on the competitor, the algorithm will know that you're not very relevant. So one, from an SEO perspective, it will bump you down the list. But from a Google ad perspective, they will say, well, hang on, if you're not very relevant and you're not giving a good user experience, that's bad. That looks bad on Google as well as you. So we're going to charge you more cost per click. So not only is it costing you leads not to convert, but Google's going, no, we're going to charge you more.
So what prompted your decision to focus on headless websites as a solution for professional services sectors, for the regulated industry sector?
So good question. So as I've developed my journey of entrepreneurship and running our business, again, when I set up, I've always been focused on the headless approach. I knew that was the right way to go about security, importance of security, lead generation from my time in sales previously within my career, but also being a computer programmer. I love the architecture of it, and I know what's best in class, but also always been fascinated around the Google algorithm and the fact that it's so secretive and there's so many different ranking factors. And once you delve into the technical details of it, then you know how to overcome it or to deliver a website that falls in favor of Google. But the reason why we focus on regulated industries is that when we were doing the pitch, again, when you first start your business, you'll take anyone and everyone, right? Whoever's willing to pay you money. But over the past few years, we've notably seen that the ones that really take notice of our pitch are those ones that, again, really care about security. And we've sort of mentioned on this podcast already about that regulated industries do traditionally have security policies in place, or they do have that security officer. But also professional services, traditionally marketing or lead generation is really expensive to generate. It's very competitive, it's very saturated, and often people or firms don't always do the right things to try and stand out. So that's where a headless approach, where it comes to the speed, where it comes to the security, the fact that it's very flexible and very scalable, can give you those 1% advantages that services need in order to either reduce the cost per click, get higher ranking on Google, or achieve a much lower cost per acquisition when it comes to general marketing activities. And so that's why we focus on those firms, because they really value that. Whereas other industries will focus purely on creativity or the design. And don't get me wrong, that is vitally important to make sure you have a very good looking website. But because our pitch is focused on those things that I've mentioned previously, that resonates with a very particular section of the market.
You sort of relaunched the brand recently with this narrower focus, I guess, on the more specialized focus.
Yeah.
How's the experience been? Has it been successful, would you say, so far?
It's been highly successful. And the reason for that is in the agency world, especially in digital marketing, there are so many of us out there because it doesn't cost a dirham or a pound really to set up a business. You can spring up a website very quickly. You can say that we do digital marketing, we do Google ads, we do this, we do that. And so it's become very noisy and obviously very saturated. And since COVID, where people were able to operate on Zoom, they're able to build relationships. Again, you can be in the Philippines, you can be in Thailand, and you can still have really good knowledge and you can service potential customers or our potential customers at a fraction of the price. And also they can be a lot more agile than if you were a larger agency. So if you've got 10, 20 agencies that all saying the same thing, that we are best in class, we are award-winning a digital marketing agency, we will get you results, then how on earth are customers meant to differentiate themselves?
Absolutely.
So we just looked at what we do really well, what are our USPs, and it came out that actually there aren't many headless website specialists, or if there are website specialists, they'll still do Google ads. They'll still do SEO. They're not truly specialists. They'll still take the revenue. So we've really doubled down on this rebrand to say, right, this is only what we do. And we're going to do it really, really well. We're going to absolutely nail our processes so that we can deliver really good results that are quickly repeatable and everything else. And we're just going to focus on that. And when you talk about people's problems, when you talk about the vulnerabilities of security of plugins, when you talk about the slowness of websites and how that can be impacting conversions, it makes life so much easier when you speak to the right customer.
Yeah.
And we've got a higher conversion rate. We're getting more leads come through. So it's been a no-brainer. It's one of those things where I wish I'd done it when I first set out, but you have to go.
It's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So we're just going to draw to a close shortly, but just in closing, can I ask you a couple of quick questions?
Sure.
What's one myth about websites that you'd love to bust?
I've mentioned it before. I can't put my pricing on my website because it's too variable and it's gonna scare people off. It will absolutely do the opposite.
Really?
When you put your pricing on your website, it will attract more people. You'll get much better qualified leads, and your business will grow as a result.
Interesting. And what's one key takeaway from your journey with Mataverse so far?
Become a specialist. Become a brain surgeon in your industry of a particular thing. Especially with AI, people can find generic, general information about your industry. They really can. You can, for law firms in particular, you can upload a heads of terms or a share purchase agreement into ChatGPT, and it will identify 75% of the risks for that. Accountancy, you can feed through your yearly reports or your profit and loss reports, and it can tell you where the opportunities are to save tax. So if you are a generalist, AI is coming for you. And so the biggest learning I've had is get ahead of that curve, become a specialist in what you do, because it's going to become very difficult for AI to produce that specialist knowledge because it needs lots of sources from it needs multiple sources of the same information to have the confidence to spit it back out again. So if you're one of two or one of five globally or within your location, then AI is not worth AI coming for you. So that's where you can make the mega bucks.
So what do you see for Mataverse in 2025 and beyond?
So for us, it's about incorporating AI within our business. So advising customers of where to use AI to generate those leads, generate those opportunities, but also, in an absolute ideal world, if we could get from discovery meeting of, yes, we want a new website, we want it to do this, that, the other, and we can deliver that within a week, where it would take us 3 or 4 months, that's where we want to be. Because there will be so much value for our customers to be able to do that. They'll be able to pivot much quicker. They'll be able to bring on new campaigns. They'll be able to test things in the market so much faster than they can before. So we really want to embrace all the technology to be able to do that for our customers.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Robbie. Love to hear about the journey of Mataverse, the evolution, I guess, And I've really learned a lot of tips today. I'm going to go and look at my pricing and try and get up into my website. I'm going to make sure the website's updated. I might need to come to you and look for some security for CJA Consulting and Muhami, although we are very secure, but of course. But, you can never do enough. So thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate it. That's it for today's episode of Muhami Matters, brought to you by CJA Consulting. Robbie, again, thanks so much for joining us. Thank you for your wonderful websites, from everything from AI to headless websites to strategy and specialisation. I've really learned a lot, so thank you. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to like and subscribe as usual. Connect with us to stay updated. And join me again soon as we continue to bring you credible insights, practical strategies, and trusted advice to empower your personal and professional journey. That's it for today. I'm Chris Adams. Stay informed, stay empowered. Thank you for joining us on Muhami Matters. If you found today's episode valuable, subscribe and connect with me to stay updated. Join me again soon as we continue to bring you credible insights, practical strategies, and trusted advice to empower your professional journey. I'm Chris Adams. Until next time, stay informed and stay empowered.